Accra.
Never forget.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
City News.
It's midday. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the City Prime News, which is live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Morton Loop in Adabraka, Accra. The news is also live on all our partner stations across the country. It's also live across the globe on citynewsroom.com, City 97.3 FM on Facebook, and CityTube on YouTube. I am Wilma Obubi Sakoman, and this afternoon I'm here with
Caleb Kuda.
Coming up in the next 1 hour, Supreme Court declares as unconstitutional President Akufo-Addo's directive for former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo to go on forced leave. Also coming up, police arrest 16 illegal miners for trying to make an authorized entry into Anglo Gold Obuasi mine in the Ashanti region. Still ahead, about 11 million SIM cards to be disconnected as deadline for re-registration expires today. And later, following the declaration of the Asin North seat vacant, NPP National Youth Wing pledges victory for the party in the by-election. Stay tuned as we bring you details of all that and more on the City Prime News, which is also live on all our affiliate stations. In the Western region, you're listening to us on Beach 105.5 FM in Takrady and Premier 100.5 FM also in Takrady, and also Sky Power 93.5 FM all in Takrady. In the Bono region, we're on Greener FM 95.9 in Sunyani. In the Ahafo region, we're on Hammers Radio 106.5 FM in Goso. In the Ashanti region, we are on Alpha Radio 104.9 in Kumasi and Orange 107.9 FM also in Kumasi. In the Volta region, you're listening to us on Global 105.1 FM in Ho and Adanu 107.7 FM in Adakluwaya. In the northern region, we're on Diamond 93.7 FM in Tamale. In the Upper West, we're on West Link 88.1 FM in Laura. In the Upper East, you're listening to us on Source 100.1 FM in Boko. And in the Northeast, we're on SCAP 101.3 FM in Nangpanduri.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Many thanks for staying with us. We'll settle for the details of our stories now. The Supreme Court has declared as unconstitutional the decision by President Akufo-Addo directing former Auditor General Daniel Domlevo to go on a forced leave. Daniel Domlevo was in 2020 forced by President Akufo-Addo to go on a 169 working days leave. These were accumulated leave days undertaken by Mr. Domelevo, according to the presidency. The Center for Democratic Development and 9 other civil society organizations who describes the move as an affront to independence of the office applied to the Supreme Court for a declaration that the action by the president was unconstitutional and null and void. The Apex Court, after 2 years of hearing the matter on Wednesday, delivered its judgment and upheld the plea of the applicants. We're joined over the phone lines by my colleague Hansen Ajman, who was in court today, to tell us more. Thank you very much for joining us, Hansen. What can you tell us on the events surrounding this case?
Well, if you will remember, in 2020, there was a bit of engagement between the office of the Auditor General and that of the President when it relates to the leave days of the former Auditor General, the person of Daniel Domlevo. Now, the presidency indicated that has noted that Daniel Domlevo had not taken leave days accumulated for about 169 and felt that it was one that was not in line with the principles of good governance. And so the presidency at the time directed that Daniel Demlevo should go on leave. Now, this was met with some form of resistance from civil society organizations. Daniel Demlevo himself, he expressed his disagreement with the decision of the president to make him go on these leave days. However, he obliged by the directive from the presidency. There were calls from civil society organizations led by the Center for Democratic Development and 9 others, including the One Ghana movement and a host of others, basically telling the president to rescind his decision, indicating that the decision as taken by the president was an affront to Article 71 of the 1992 Constitution. The president's decision of failure to heed to the cause of these civil society organizations then caused for the application before the Supreme Court for an interpretation of the Constitution and for an enforcement of the Constitution to the point that the president cannot force the Auditor General, whose office is created to be independent, to go on leave. So since 2020, this case has been heard in the Supreme Court. About some few months ago, it was scheduled for judgment to be given as the case has concluded. It suffered a number of adjournments. However, when the court starts today, Wednesday, the Supreme Court finally delivered its verdict on it, and its verdict is simple: that the presidency had no power in forcing Daniel Demlevo to go on leave.
Now, Hansen, with this judgment in place, what happens to Demlevo now?
Well, in the reliefs as sought by the civil society organizations, they were the first two reliefs as they were seeking was one, to declare that the action of the president was void, and two, to declare that the appointment of then deputy to Demlevo, Mr. Johnson Equiamu Asedu, as acting Auditor General was in itself void. Now then, C was that they were indicating that the functions as assigned to the Auditor General is vested solely in the Auditor General, and therefore the appointment of a person as acting Auditor General and subsequent performance of functions of the Auditor General by such person without authorization from the Auditor General violates the letter and spirit of the Constitution. They also indicated that they were asking for an order of perpetual injunction to restrain the president or his agents from issuing or seeking to enforce on the Auditor General directives that has the purpose or effect of commanding the Auditor General take his leave or to surrender any of his powers or functions. And then the final one here was an order of perpetual injunction to restrain the president or his agents from designating or appointing any person as acting Auditor General to exercise a constitutional power or perform a constitutional function of the Auditor General without authorization from the so duly appointed Auditor General. Now, the court actually agreed to or granted the release in A and B, which was to say that the decision by the president to ask Demlevo to go on leave was unconstitutional, and the subsequent appointment of his deputy into an acting capacity was also unconstitutional. But with respect to the other reliefs, because several events have come to make those events moot, the Supreme Court did not grant those other reliefs. Now, mind you, after Demlevo served, for want of better words, served those 169 days and he returned to office, he was actually faced with another issue that concerned his age, where the presidency indicated that it had uncovered some discrepancies in his age, and when it corrected same, it suggested that he had gone on retirement, and so he came back on leave and had to go back on retirement, and so Equiama became the substantive Auditor General. Hence, the Supreme Court has indicated that the other reliefs that are seeking to stop Equiama from playing the role as Auditor General was smooth because he's now been appointed as an Auditor General, and Daniel Domlevo, who the instant case was made for, actually has also gone on retirement, and so all the other reliefs that sought to reverse the decision to make the then Deputy Auditor General as the acting Auditor General has been declared as moot, and so those reliefs were not granted by the Supreme Court.
Now, Hansen, finally, before we let you go, have you gotten any reaction from the CSOs who applied to the Supreme Court on this issue?
Well, the CSOs, they are excited to the extent that they've been able to establish the constitutionality or otherwise of what the president has said. Now, they have always maintained that the Supreme Court has delayed in giving judgment on the matter now because this matter was done in October, or it was filed in October 2020. We are in 2023, and because of the delay, most of the reliefs that they were seeking are moot. But so partially, they are happy that finally the Supreme Court has given a judgment on the matter, and this is in their favor to say that the president cannot interfere in any way in the actions and the activities of the Auditor General.
Now, people are saying that this case has delayed unduly. What are the sentiments you're getting from the ground?
Can you come again?
Hansen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, there are views that this case has gone on for so long. What are the sentiments you're getting where you are?
So what the CSOs are saying is that it has delayed. Obviously, looking at the period between October 2020 and May ending 2023, it has delayed. Considering the fact that most of the reliefs that they were seeking are moot at this point in time. But obviously, they are happy because it gives a declaration to guide future presidents on to what extent they can play a role in the activities of the Auditor General. And this suggests that the president and the presidency, by extension, cannot unduly interfere in the actions of the Auditor General, as has been created by the 1992 Constitution.
Thank you so much for that update. That was Citi News' court correspondent Hansen Ajiman giving us details on the Supreme Court's ruling as unconstitutional the decision by President Akufo-Addo directing former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo to go on a forced leave.
Let's stay with the Supreme Court because it has struck out the law that allowed President Akufo-Addo to impose restrictions as part of the fight against coronavirus pandemic. The government, at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, caused for the legislation of the Imposition of Restriction Act, which gave powers to the president to restrict human activities for the purpose of fighting the pandemic. The applicant sued the Attorney General, claiming that directives pursuant to the act, such as closure of schools, restriction of movements, were unconstitutional. It was the case of the plaintiffs that the act that allowed for these restrictions was unconstitutional in line with Articles 31 and 32 of the Constitution. The Apex Court, in delivering its judgment, described the act as null and void.
Away from that, the president of Academic City, Professor Fred Makbagonluri, has challenged policymakers to create an enabling environment for brilliant Ghanaians in the sciences to thrive. This, he argues, will inure to the overall development of the country. He was contributing to a discussion on the City Breakfast Show on why most brilliant science students in high school end up in non-science industries working to earn salaries while their peers around the world engage in groundbreaking research in the sciences. Here are the thoughts of Professor Makbagonluri, who has been multiple patents to his name.
That's a whole day answer. I think in one way I was fortunate to find myself professionally. I'm always in an environment where something new was being done, even though some of those companies were hundreds of years old. Okay, I was always the guy that was giving the project that everybody was scared would destroy their career. And I'll be the guy that will stand up and say, I'll give it a trial. So this edge to want to try new things, the energy to step up to lead, I would say was one of the contributing factors. The second definitely was the environment. If you work for a company like Siemens, you understand that Germany doesn't have the natural resources that we have. The biggest mines Germany have are the mines itself. They mine the human brain in ways that we cannot even fathom. And so, given that kind of environment, creativity was encouraged. If you were a PhD working for a company like Siemens, you were a star, you were going somewhere. Even if you were the youngest in the group and you had a PhD, you would lead that team. So they really respect knowledge. The economy depended on knowledge. So I think I was lucky on one end, but I also had the drive to succeed. Coming from a place like Nandom, you could only take one-way road. You were not going back. I wasn't going to go back to Baolesi and struggle. I wanted to escape this scourge of poverty itself. And secondly, I think what I've been trying to do also with iSteam Academy and Spark is to start with the kids very early on. I get asked from time to time, how do you know a 5-year-old kid doesn't like numbers, can do numbers? How do you determine at that stage? And I say, you can't. You just need to create an ecosystem where they will naturally bubble up. And so Sparks and iSteam is really the babies that I believe that will create the next generation of the kinds of people that I met in my journey. And also, some of the stuff that I've done. I let them break things. I let them catch things. And it is okay if you break the VR machine. I'm just going to try to teach you how to fix it. So I think we need to respect knowledge. We need to respect the power that it can bring to this economy if we can tap into just 5% of the capacity that we have. And Ghanaians are some of the most brilliant people that I've met. You meet a guy like Dr. Victor Lawrence, who was vice president at Bell Labs, one of the finest engineers on this planet, and he's retired quietly. He's in New Jersey because he had really bad experiences trying to do stuff here in Ghana.
You had there Professor Fred Mac-Bagonlori, who is the president of Academic Citi Private University in Ghana.
The Pensioner Bondholders Forum is set to picket at the Finance Ministry again on June 1 after government failed to engage them on a clear pathway for the settlement of principals on the investments. 3 weeks ago, the pensioners held a similar protest demanding the payment of coupons and principals. Following a meeting between the ministry and the pensioner bondholders, the group suspended the action with a promise that all outstanding coupons will be paid while discussions about principal payments continued. 2 weeks after the suspension of the protest, government has failed to engage the pensioners on the way forward on the principals, with some coupons also outstanding. In an interview with Citi News, the convener for the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Ananientri, says there has been no attempt from government to engage them since the notice of the resumption of the picketing protest was put out on Monday.
They don't respond to anything. The only time they had spoken to us is when we are there. It's only when they see you there, then they try to have a meeting with you. So maybe that's what will be happening always. We are just going to be there. Let people see our presence and the whole world to know that we are back, because government has not performed its part of the bargain. Total payment of all coupons and principal. We want to return to normalcy, where as soon as the coupon is due, government will pay. So we have structured the picketing in such a manner that when the thing is due and government pays, there will be no picketing. If the government hasn't paid by Wednesday, then there will be the picketing. So it is government payment that will stop the picketing.
Dr. Edu Ananientri is convener for the Pensioner Bondholders Forum.
Now, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana (COPEC) is projecting a marginal decline in the prices of fuel in the first pricing window of June 2023. COPEC attributes this projection to the relative stability of the forex rate. The chamber is further predicting that the price of liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) will decline by roughly 5% during the same period. Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana (COPEC), Duncan Amwa, has been speaking to Citi News on the prediction.
First pricing window for June looks relatively stable, although per our figures, some OMCs might decline marginally on current pump prices. Like you rightly said, it might remain stable, but we expect some few peso reductions on current pump prices for a lot of the oil marketing companies come 1st of June 2023. This is informed by a relative stability and some relative gain that the city would have made within the period. International market benchmarks have not been as good as you saw them the past window. There have been some increases, but those are, 2%, 1% increases. We expect that the city would have a rather positive impact on pump prices. So prices could go down just a little, while for LPG you could see some significant reductions between 2 and 5%.
Duncan Amwa is the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Ghana. You're still listening to the Citi Prime News live from our studios at Adabraka in Accra. Still ahead in the bulletin, police arrest 16 illegal miners for trying to make an authorized entry into Anglo Gold Obuasi mine in the Ashanti region. We'll bring you details of this and others shortly. Do stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Listen up, people. There's good news for Airtel Tigo customers who haven't started and those who are yet to complete their SIM re-registration. Yes, good news. Complete your SIM re-registration and get free 5GB data voila! To browse, chat, Zoom, TikTok, Snap, and do more on Airtel Tigo to change your world. If your SIM has been blocked, don't worry. You can have your number back and also get a whopping 5GB data as soon as you register with your Ghana card. Simply visit the nearest Airtel Tigo shop or agent today. Complete your SIM registration now. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Now, police have arrested 16 illegal miners who tried to make an authorized entry into the concession belonging to Anglo Gold Obuasi mine. According to certain news sources, the 16 suspects on Tuesday evening tried using unauthorized routes to gain access to a mine shaft in search of gold deposits. They have been transferred to the Bekwai Divisional Police Command for interrogation. The development comes as authorities make efforts to enable the exit of scores of illegal miners caught up in the mine shaft. Police have so far arrested 80 illegal miners who have exited the mine. Out of the number, 32, have been charged and granted bail. We'll go over the phone lines and speak to Ashanti Regional Correspondent Hafiz Tijani to tell us more on this development. Good afternoon, Hafiz. Many thanks for joining us. What more can you tell us?
So yesterday, security officers, which comprises the police and the military and the internal security of the Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi mine, were stationed at the main exit of the shaft where these miners were caught up or are caught up to kind of aid them to exit from the shaft. But the fear was that the miners would be arrested upon coming out. So 48 of them yesterday were able to come out and they were taken to the police station. And later, the police granted bail to 15 of them after the chaos that emanated at the police station and in the Obuasi township. And later in the night, our sources from the police say that they...
Hello, Hafiz.
They took these two to the police station and made them to write their statements and were granted bail. Later, the military there also arrested some 16 people who were coming from outside and using an authorized route into the shaft. These were people who were also going in search of gold deposits in the shaft. So they were also picked up. The 16 of them were picked up. And currently, we are told they have been sent to the Bekwai Police Divisional Command to write their statement, and they will be questioned.
All right, Hafiz, many thanks for your time. That was Ashanti Regional Correspondent Hafiz Tijani.
The board and management of the Koforidua Senior High Technical School have indefinitely suspended 85 students of the school following the brutal attack on students and teachers of the New Grabbing Senior High School. The board has also recommended a demotion of all school prefects for failing to pick up intelligence of the attack. It also asked that the 85 students pay for all the cost of the items damaged at the New Grabbing Senior High School during the attack. City News' Neil Ni Amate Kanaku has more in this report.
The attack, which happened on Sunday, May 14, 2023, left 4 students of the New Grabbing Senior High School and the school's chaplain badly injured. Personnel of the Ghana Police Service who were called in during the attack managed to arrest 4 students of SecTech to commence their investigations. The school's disciplinary committee, which also began a probe into the attack, while liaising with the police, managed to identify 6 students who masterminded the attack and were immediately handed their sanctions in the presence of their parents. According to City News sources within the school, the disciplinary committee met all 85 students to interrogate them before submitting a report to the school's board of governors, who then recommended and sanctioned the decision to suspend the students indefinitely. Majority of the students who are final year students will, however, be given the opportunity to write their final WASI exams in a white shirt over khaki shorts under police escort. The fate of a student who was hit in the head with a machete during the attack and partially paralyzed and receiving treatment back home in Sefiwi also hangs in the balance as the disciplinary committee awaits his full recovery before he takes his turn at the committee for his punishment. Meanwhile, City News sources within the school also confirmed that the students will be made to pay for the full cost of all damaged items at the New Grabbing Senior High School, which forms part of the recommendation from the school's governing board. According to the headmaster of the school, Mr. Ofori Yentri, each student has been charged to pay 2,000 Ghana cedis for the distractions at New Grabbing Senior High School. He added that Form 2 students involved in the attack are to report to the police headquarters with a letter to be assisted to look for accommodation near the school. In addition, the Board of Governors also recommended the demotion of all prefects in the school for failing to pick up signals of the brutal twin attack that fateful day. The board also directed that going forward, New Grabbing Senior High School is out of bounds to students of SecTech.
City News' Eastern Regional Correspondent Neil Ni Amate Kanaku filed that report.
We'll go back to our earlier story on the Obuasi legal miners, because the Anglo Gold Ashanti Obuasi says he has reiterated his commitment to ensuring the safety of its employees and community members. The company, in a statement today, said its main exit ramp from the mine still remains open, allowing any unauthorized persons who may still be underground to exit at any time. Now, the SIM card re-registration process at telecommunication centers is noticeably quieter today, with fewer people present. All unregistered SIM cards will be deactivated by the close of the day. This action follows a directive from the National Communications Authority ordering the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications to ensure that all SIM cards which have not been re-registered with Ghana cards be removed from their system in compliance with the May 31 deadline. Those who have come to register their SIM cards before the deadline cite various reasons for their delay. Some individuals shared their experiences with Citi News.
I haven't been around. Yeah, so I came mostly for the registration. So I have to be going back.
If you came purposely for the registration,
Yeah.
today being the last day, are you aware?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't been around for a while. Yeah, my work takes me around. So.
Have you faced any challenges throughout the process?
No. Okay, I mean, there was a bit delay in the system capturing my palm and all that. Other than that, I think it's been smooth.
A number of people said they couldn't get access to their Ghana card and that caused the delay. In your case, that's not the case. Is that the case? Is that it?
Well, yeah, I had to go and then pay for Express because mine also didn't come on time. So I had to go to the office and then pay for Express for me to get my card.
Because of the COVID, our office bought some SIM card and we had to register them in our names. And they started calling me to do the activation for them. If not, they can't work. That's the reason why I'm here to.
So you've done your personal one?
I've done my personal one, yes. I have two of that. I've done all of them.
But you are here to do it for the office?
For the office, yes, exactly.
So why the delay? Why did you choose the last day to do it?
I didn't decide to do the last day. They decided to do it the last day. They didn't realize it was in my name. But I think they sent them messages. That was when they ran to me yesterday for me to come and do it for them.
You had some persons who visited telecommunication centers to re-register their SIM cards. We'll go over the phone line to speak to my colleague Fred Duho, who is on the field. Good afternoon, Fred. Many thanks for joining us. Which places have you visited and what can you report?
Yes, Wilma, the very first place I visited was the MTN office at the industrial area, and then proceeded to the MTN office on the ring road around Circle. I am currently at the Airtel Tigo headquarters, and I can say the places visited so far, the numbers are very small compared to what we witnessed when there was an extension or during the peak of the SIM card registration. And a number of people I spoke to on this particular field today, they mentioned to me they had the delay was actually coming from their Ghana cards, and a number of them also mentioned that they were waiting for a better time to do it. But essentially, I can say that the numbers compared to the very first time the whole announcement was made for people to get their SIM cards registered, and the extension dates, the numbers compared to those dates has been very, very minimal. As we speak, at the Airtel Tigo headquarters, for instance, the seats arranged here waiting for the people to come in are literally empty, and very few people. I can count about 3 people present here, and the Airtel Tigo office actually made their staff available, about 8 of them seated outside here. I would say they are ideal because the numbers they actually expecting to come in are not coming. But there is someone here also facing difficulty trying to link his Ghana card to his SIM card. Maybe he would want to share why he's facing challenges registering his SIM card today. Welcome to Citi Prime News, sir.
Thank you. Manuel Mesa.
What are you here to do and what have they been telling you?
Just to get my SIM card linked to my Ghana card.
And have you been able to achieve that?
No. I think the problem is that, they are not able to link the two movements. And I've been here for over 1 hour, a little over 1 hour. Yes. They have to go in there. The long queue. I cannot. I can't.
So it means literally that you're going to lose this number that you have for long.
I've decided to go in for another number, either MTN or Vodafone.
And is this number not dear to you?
You see? Well, I like it, but if something is dear to you, cannot get it, what do you do? you try to change your mind and go for the alternative, and that is what I'm trying to do.
For how long have you been using this number?
For quite some time now. Very long time, yes.
So, Wilma, that is one person out of the lot. He's trying to add something else to what is it?
On occasions like this, they have to try to respect the older age. You see, you ask me to go and join that queue there. No, I can't. I can't sit down for a long time. So when I asked the security man, he said, yes, you have to join the queue. Those, they have to be attended to.
But I think those attending to the long queue in there are equally present here to attend to you. And I can see them idle, sitting with their phones.
I was here first, but they referred me to that end where my problem could probably be solved. But when I saw the queue, I sat down for some time. The queue was not moving. So I asked the man, what was happening? Am I, to join all this? I said no. And I asked them whether they have no provisions for the aged. Not that 1 month to sit down idle and wait for the aged. There are not many there. But when you see somebody who is fairly old and cannot, wait for a long queue, you quickly go there. He's attended to, then he leaves. Then this is not the ordinary,
All right. So, Wilma, that is one peculiar case out of the lot. Mr. Mensah mentioning to us that he's been trying to link his old SIM card, which is Airtel Tigo SIM card, to his Ghana card, and he's unsuccessful at that. But he's hoping to fall on other alternatives to get his number probably registered, or look for other alternatives like the other telecommunication networks to use in place of the Airtel Tigo he's been using for quite some time now. But what I observed on the field today, like I mentioned earlier, the queues are very minimal. Very few people are present at the telco centers to get their SIM cards re-registered or to link their SIM cards to their Ghana card, knowing very well that today is the very last day as directed by the National Communications Authority and the Ministry of Communication. And after today, all those numbers that have not been linked to the Ghana card or registered would be totally expunged from the system.
Now, Fred, before we let you go, have you been able to speak to some officials of these telcos you visited?
All of them won't speak to the media, but at least the little they can do to help us is to grant us permission to film outside their premises and also to engage with some of their clients or customers who are coming through to have their SIM card registered. So officially, the staff of the various telcos won't speak to the media as far as the process is concerned. I've seen another person come in. If you have time, I can still engage a few more people to engage them and understand why they are still coming in to have their SIM card.
You can go ahead, Fred.
All right. So I see another young man here being engaged. So welcome to Citi Prime News. My name is Fred. Your full name is?
My name is Nicholas.
Are you here to register your SIM card?
Yes, I'm here to register my SIM card.
Why choose the very last day to do this?
Sometimes the crowd is too much, and I'm a businessman, so today I took out of my time and then I decided to come and spend it, so I'll be obedient to the rules. They say after today, there will be no more days, and I'm a businessman. I like to return my SIM card as a businessman.
Well, how is the process so far? What have they been telling you?
It's on progress. It's going well.
Yeah. By the way, did you get your Ghana card on time?
Yes, we did.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. So that is another person who just spoke to us with regards to getting the opportunity to get his SIM card registered. So a number of them are coming in. Earlier, I mentioned to you that I could see 3 people. Now I can count not less than 10 people who just came in, also hoping to have their SIM cards linked here at the Airtel Tigo headquarters.
Thank you so much for that update. Also to News' Fred Duho.
The National Youth Wing of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, says it will deliver victory for the party in Asin North by-election. This follows Parliament's declaration of the seat as vacant and subsequent communication to the Electoral Commission. The Commission will soon set a date for the election. The NPP, who recently won massively the Kumewu seat, is hopeful of replicating same in Asin North. Addressing the media at a press conference dubbed Truths and Facts Forum, the national organizer of the NPP, Salam Mustafa, indicated that the party has developed Asin North and is certain residents will reward the party during the by-election.
Very soon, there will be another by-election in the Asin North constituency. We are ready for it. This past weekend, I was in the constituency and I was amazed at the level of development that this government has undertaken there. Superb first-class roads, beautiful astroturf, water projects, schools, just to mention but a few. We are going to Asim North, and let me make a bold declaration that we are going to win hands down, just like we did in the Kunewu by-election. About a month ago, the National Youth Wing, under my leadership, took to the road and toured all 16 regions of the country. We did so with a firm belief that horses and chariots are prepared ahead of battles, and every good army will not relent or joke around its preparation ahead of D-Day.
National Youth Organizer of the NPP, Salam Mustafa.
Now, some parliamentary candidate aspirants have gathered at the New Patriotic Party's Asen North constituency office to pick up forms to participate in the primaries to elect a parliamentary candidate. This follows modalities announced by the party in preparation of the by-election in the constituency. Two aspirants, Charles Opoku and Frederick Freeman Amwache, have so far picked up forms to contest in next week's primary. Our Central Regional Correspondent Calvis Tete joins us over the phone lines with more. Calvis, many thanks for joining us. What can you report from where you are?
Well, I'm currently at the Asen Breku, that is the district capital of the Asen North constituency. Just in about some few days' time, the by-elections will happen. But then here in the constituency, it's a farming area. Asen North is a farming area, so most of the people here are smallholder farmers. The constituency is quite a big one. Initially in 2012, it was one constituency, that is Asen North. But in 2012, it was divided, and then they had Asen North, Asen Central, and what have you. Here in the constituency, most of the challenges of the people in this constituency are roads. Most of their roads, according to people in the constituency, successive governments have failed them. So most of the issues that they want leadership to address is the issue of roads in the constituency and the issue of employment here in the constituency. I have with me here...
Calvis, before you speak to whoever, could you please reposition yourself? The line is really bad.
All right. Can you hear me?
There's a bit of noise in the background, so if you could please move aside or readjust yourself, we'll be grateful.
Hear me now.
Calvis,
yes,
it's fine.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have with me, the constituency, people in this constituency are basically farmers. And one of the key challenges in this constituency has to do with roads. The road network in this constituency is very bad, and residents here are hoping that the issue of roads will be addressed. Most of the residents here are farmers, and for that matter, they want farming issues also addressed for them. I have with me here a resident of the area who would help us better. There is a constituency, deputy constituency secretary here who would help us better understand what is happening here this morning. Sir, welcome to Citi News. Thank you. Yes, this morning you have opened nominations. What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's true. We had the information from our general secretary that the nomination forms out today this morning. And thankfully, we had our MC from Kaswawi with us with the form. And so now the process is that you have to go to bank and do bank draft, and then you come and then purchase the form with the draft. So that is what exactly is going on now. So as you can see, we are having a team from Opoku's camp who are in now with their draft to come and pick their form. So for what is going on now, I think it is a process. The nomination has been opened today, and then it will be closed tomorrow, meaning that if you have picked your form today, it means that you have only today and tomorrow to fill it and then submit it tomorrow so that the rest of the process can continue.
Okay, so do you believe that you'll get a viable candidate to contest with the NDC?
Oh, sure, definitely. The names and some of the things that we have heard so far, I think at the end of the day, we are going to get a very vibrant candidate who we believe
strongly that he's going to take the seat for MPP in Aseno.
Okay. I also have with me a resident, to shed more light on what actually they are looking for before they vote for a particular candidate. Ma, Mechiao. Yes, I said not her. More how to see what consistency have. Any day.
Yeah, how can you was it? Yeah, quan you cry. Say your quan man, you send off. You see what do you? Or send MPP NDC for more Kazia wasn't sending your shape. Even got a plan. I from the number two money. So MPP names, throw my son by the Panama. Not BPI, a question of money, a campaign who said, in Yasama, this is the idea.
Dear Nanka Moore says, NDC News, NPP, Nipam Begin, or Beshana, was one man.
Had you ever Pia or MPP? Or the Pia, Chasupuku never by eternity. A Freeman never by eternity. Yet, probably eternity.
Well, the resident, what she's basically saying is that the major problem here has to do with roads and the fact that is the ultimate thing they want. They want any person who is selected to lead the constituency to try and then tackle the issue of roads in this constituency. And quite apart from that, the issue of farming is also one of the things that they also want addressed in this constituency. This constituency, let me paint a picture to our listeners. This constituency is quite a big constituency. Assin North constituency comprises of smaller communities, and from one constituency to the other is quite far. So it is actually a bit difficult being the people here. But one thing I also realize is that the people here just need development in this constituency.
Well, Calvis, many thanks for that update. That was our Central Regional Correspondent, Calvis Tete, reporting from the new Patriotic Party's Assin North constituency, where some parliamentary candidate aspirants have picked up phones to contest in next week's primaries. Meanwhile, my colleague Umaru Sanda Amadou yesterday spoke to Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbandi, on the preparations of the party.
The party has a plan, but what is for the consumption of the public is that the NDC is ready for the by-election. And we know that government is coming to battle us because we are already on the ground. And so our preparations are underway. And in summary, the NDC is prepared for the Assin North by-election.
This is a seat that you had. Now that it has been declared vacant, what does it mean to your operations in Parliament and also your election machinery in the constituency? Because it is not a seat that is permanently yours.
What it means is that, one, we have talked about the issue that government has pursued to deny the people of Assin North representation in Parliament using the judiciary. You are aware that as we speak, the Supreme Court have not been able to deliver a written judgment to the parties involved, which is in itself a trajectory of the process. Number two,
even though the Supreme Court has given a date on which it is going to make the announcement, which is a very usual thing with the courts, where they make the announcement and then give the full judgment later. That cannot be a travesty.
Omar, I have repeated severally that much as it is not a strange process or practice by the court, let's look at the appropriateness given the gravity and the level of interest in this matter. The interest that you are removing a legitimately elected member of parliament by a constituency to represent its constituents, that you will give a judgment and then fail to deliver written copies. And that don't forget that if there is an avenue for a review, it's still to the discretion of the individuals in the case. And the Supreme Court has virtually denied that person that avenue because it does not even understand the reasoning of the court that led to the judgment. Here we are, Parliament have declared vacancy in that constituency. So the NDC, what it means to us is to consolidate our gains on the ground to reinforce what we already know and also what we are in that constituency. We have stated that we are representing the candidate that we know, Honorable Jachikwesin, who is more credible, who is loved by his constituents for the purposes of this election, keeping at the back of our mind that government have decided that they will repeat the issue of vote buying. And so that is what we are going to be looking forward to deal with. We know that that is a crime. And so we're going to keep Ghana Police Service on alert for some of these things. That if we cite issues of vote buying and we make a complaint, the police must not take it as the business as usual and that they must act on it so that we can have a level playing ground to prosecute issue-based election or issue-based by-election. If we do that, we are optimistic that the NDC should win at the end of the day.
You are a Democratic Party. You don't plan to open up the contest for people who would be interested in representing your party, like you just did in the Ashanti regions by-election, Kumewu?
We are not democratic for nothing. We are democratic for something. And so the decision of the party, the rank and file, is that we have a sole candidate who are representing for this election, and that is a democratic decision.
So you're going to select instead of elect?
Well, whichever way you look at it, the party maintains that the Jachikwesin until recently, through the maneuvering of government and its forces and the judiciary, was a member of parliament legitimately elected by its people. We have maintained that this has been an effort by government to reduce the numbers in parliament so that they can continue to perpetrate all the illegalities and all the corruption scandals that they do in parliament. And that the Jachikwesin just stood as a victim. And the court have, given a judgment that denied the people of Asim North a fair representation in parliament. And so we are representing the candidate who is not guilty of any crime as we speak to contest that election. We have consulted, we have come out with a decision that that is our candidate for the purposes of the election. Why is the MPP so worried more than we do? They should also go and present their candidate and let's go to an election.
That's the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC speaking with my colleague Umaru Sanda Ahmad. You're still listening to the Citi Prime News live from our studios here in Adabaka, Accra. Still ahead in the bulletin, some business owners at Madina Race Junction in the Nkwantana municipality accounting their losses following the fire that gutted some structures there yesterday. We'll bring you details of that story shortly. Do stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
If you're a whiz kid that collects straight A's in your sleep, a brainy brains that aces quizzes without even trying, or a clever clogs that knows just about everything, then there's one more battle you have to win. The Literacy Challenge. The nationwide search for the best junior high student is on. Think it could be you going home with 10,000 Ghana cedis and a glitzy trophy? Then, in not less than 600 words, write a story that ends with the following statement. The happiest people do not have the best of everything, they make the best of everything they have. Stories should be written in your own handwriting with the deadline of Saturday, the 15th of July, 2023 in mind. Submissions must include an endorsement by a parent or guardian and their full contact details. And once you're done, shoot off your entries to the front desk of Citi TV or Citi FM. Or you can send entries to PO Box GP 14123 Accra Central. For more inquiries, call 0558 973 973. The Literacy Challenge 2023 is powered by Citi TV, supported by Citi FM, and is sponsored by Ghana National Gas Company.
It's true.
that life can be complicated and navigating the realities of the modern world even more so. Sometimes you can find yourself in trouble just because you didn't know better. But as the adage goes, ignorance of the law is no excuse. A Question of Law seeks to deconstruct the legal framework within which our daily lives function. A Question of Law airs at 6 p.m. this and every Thursday, only on Citi TV.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Now, the Ghana Federation of Labour says it will be unfair if public sector wages are reduced as a result of the IMF program. Government is likely to reduce its expenditure in its bid to consolidate the country's fiscal policy under the International Monetary Fund program. But the Ghana Federation of Labour says any attempt to reduce salaries of public sector workers would have dire impact on the labour fraternity. General Secretary of the Ghana Federation of Labour, Abraham Kumsin, says government must not take any such action.
First of all, let me just say that I am not sure which group of people are considering a possible reduction in the pay of public sector employees. That discussion should not even be encouraged. And as a matter of fact, the Ghana Federation of Labour cannot imagine itself participating in any conversation with a view to reduce worker salary. It's an unthinkable thing to imagine, if you ask me. Again, let me also put on record that we do not have any contract or covenant with IMF. IMF is not our employer. Please. The contract that exists between the public service employees and government is covered by a legal instrument for which terms and conditions of service have been signed and parties are obliged to comply, which includes salaries. So I don't know which people are talking about reduction. Who is even encouraging that conversation? Please. What we are going to do is rather to present to government an adjustment in our terms and conditions of service across the sectors. You recognize that the litany of taxes that have been slapped on us left, right, and center. We are coming with proposals to ask for more, for increment, to be able to mitigate the harsh realities of these taxes and so on and so forth. So we're talking about reduction, please.
Abraham Kumsin is General Secretary of the Ghana Federation of Labour.
The Chief of Staff, Akosua Frema Osei Opare, says tourism plays a pivotal role in fostering economic development, generating employment opportunities, and promoting cross-cultural understanding. She was speaking at the second day of the National Tourism Summit at the Peduase Lodge on the topic Harnessing Cultural Assets for Inclusive Tourism Growth. Akosua Frema Osei Opare encouraged the preservation of tourist sites in Ghana and advised active stakeholders to invest in education to achieve tourism growth.
It is a sector that can empower local communities, preserve our heritage, and contribute to the well-being of our people. However, for tourism to truly thrive and be inclusive, it is imperative that we harness these cultural assets effectively. Ladies and gentlemen, harnessing our cultural assets for inclusive tourism growth require us all to recognize the immense value of our cultural heritage and safeguard it for future generations. We have a duty to protect and to preserve our historical sites, monuments, and artifacts.
Chief of Staff Akosua Frema Osei Opare.
Now, some business owners at the Madina Ritz Junction in the Lankwantana Madina municipality are counting their losses following a fire in the area. The outbreak, which started in the wee hours of Tuesday, has raised many retail shops. This becomes the second fire incident recorded at Madina Ritz Junction this year, following an inferno in January, which gutted many shops and houses. Some affected shop owners spoke to Citi News.
For now, we've seen the assemblyman pass by. The MP2 has been here. Yeah, that's what I can see for now.
Okay. What information have you been gathering from the ground personally as regards the cause of this fire?
In fact, when they called me and I came, I heard there was a fight between two people, and then it didn't go well with the other person, and then people following the other person poured petrol behind my shop and then lighted fire into it.
Well, I think a lot of money, clothes, shoes, slippers, and perfumes, etc. Yeah.
So what's the estimate, roughly, the amount of money you might have lost from this, sad incident?
To be honest, it's a lot of money. I need to sit down and calculate everything. It's a lot of money, honestly, yeah.
Those were some shop owners who were affected by a fire at Madina West Junction yesterday. And that's how we answer to news at Citi Prime News, live from our studios at Adabaka in Accra. For more news, you can log on to our website, citynewsroom.com. I'm Wilma Obobisa Coleman, and I did with
Caleb Kuda.
Many thanks for your time. Up next is the afternoon's edition of the City Business